You've asked yourself this before, quietly, maybe never out loud. What's wrong with me? It's 11 p.m. You just got home from a night with people you actually like. The first thing you do, before you even take your shoes off, is exhale. Not because the night was bad, because something in your chest finally lets go the second the door closes behind you. Maybe for you it's not a door closing. Maybe it's your phone finally going quiet after a group chat that wouldn't stop buzzing. Different trigger, same release. And every time, that question comes right back. Here's what I want to tell you before anything else. Probably nothing is wrong with you. Stay with me, because I'm going to show you how to tell the difference between the kind of alone that's good for you and the kind that's quietly hurting you. From the outside, those two look almost identical. They are not the same thing. And mixing them up is the mistake that costs people years. Somewhere along the way, someone decided that wanting to be alone is a problem to be fixed. If you didn't want to go out, you were being difficult. If you left the party early, you were antisocial. If you needed a weekend with no plans, someone called you closed off, usually right before telling you to put yourself out there more. You believed it a little. You started performing enthusiasm you didn't feel, just so nobody would ask what was wrong with you. You said, let's definitely do this again soon, and meant it about as much as you meant your last, I'm fine. Not because you were lying, but because it was easier than explaining a feeling you didn't have words for yet. But here's the part almost nobody says out loud. Needing solitude isn't the same as fearing people. Some people recharge with a crowd. Some people recharge in an empty room. Neither one is broken. They're just running on different fuel. Think of it like two phones with different chargers. One fills up by staying connected. The other charges only when it is unplugged for a while. If you keep the second one plugged into people all day, it does not fill up. It drains. The problem isn't that you walk alone. The problem is that you were taught to be ashamed of needing a different charger than everyone else. If you have ever wondered whether your alone time heals you or hides you, drop alone in the comments. Before we get into how to recognize this in yourself, you need one distinction, because everything after this depends on it. There is alone that comes from clarity. You know what you want, and being around people dilutes that knowing, so you step back to hear yourself think. And there is alone that comes from fear. You've been hurt, or disappointed, or tired of explaining yourself, and you've quietly decided it's safer to just stop trying. From the outside, these look exactly the same. Same empty calendar. Same unanswered messages. Same, I'm fine, just busy. But from the inside, they feel completely different. One kind of alone leaves you steadier. You come back to people lighter, not heavier. You can still let someone in when it matters. The other kind of alone leaves you smaller every time. Every message feels like a demand. Every invitation feels like a threat you have to survive. The world doesn't feel spacious. It feels like it's shrinking around you. Keep that test in your back pocket. We're going to come back to it. Now let's look at what this actually looks like day to day. Sign 1. The version of you that only shows up in silence. You know there's a sharper version of you. The one that shows up when nobody's in the room to react to what you say next. Not louder, not colder, just more honest. Around people, you edit without noticing. You round off an opinion because someone's face changes. You say it's fine because the real answer would take energy you don't have. Then you're alone, and it stops being complicated. You didn't want that job. You didn't want that relationship to keep going the way it was going. You didn't actually agree with the plan everyone kept calling the smart move. You weren't lying to people, exactly. You were just quieter than the truth. And it turns out the truth needed a room with no one else in it to finally speak up. Sign 2. You stop treating every invitation like a test. There's a version of you from a few years back who said yes to almost everything, because saying no felt dangerous, like missing one night out meant missing your whole life. Somewhere along the way, that changed. Now a plan comes up on a night you're already running low, and you actually pause. You let yourself ask what you have left to give, instead of just assuming the answer is yes. And sometimes the answer is no. Not because you don't like the people, but because you already know what that night would cost you tomorrow. That's not you pulling away from life. That's you finally trusting your own read on your own limits, instead of outsourcing it to whoever's asking. Sign 3. You can love someone without letting them vote on your life. This is the one that actually hurts, because it's rarely a stranger who tests it. It's your mother asking, again, why you can't just pick the safer option. It's a friend who means well, but keeps calling your decision a phase, like it's something you'll grow out of. You hear the care underneath what they're saying, which is what makes it hard to tune out. So for a long time, you explain. You justify. You hope that saying it the right way will finally make them get it. Then one day you notice the explaining isn't landing. It's just reopening the same argument on a loop. That's when something shifts. You don't stop loving them. You don't stop listening. You just stop handing them the final vote. You can respect someone's worry and still not let it steer the car. If this finally puts words to something you have never known how to explain, give it a like. Sign 4. You got tired of defending who you're becoming. At first, you try to make the change easy for everyone to swallow. You explain the new priorities, thinking the right words will finally make people catch up. Then you notice something that stings a little. Some people aren't confused because you explained it badly. They're uncomfortable because the new you is asking them to let go of the version of you they liked better. So every conversation starts to feel like a small trial. You bring reasons. They bring doubt. You walk away tired, not because you dislike them, but because being understood has quietly become more expensive than it should be. That's usually the moment walking alone stops being dramatic and starts being obvious. You're not leaving to punish anyone. You're leaving because you shouldn't have to build a case every time you make an honest choice. Sign 5. You'd rather be misunderstood than keep betraying yourself. This one doesn't arrive as a big moment. It shows up small. You read a message, and you realize you're done writing the version of the reply that makes everyone comfortable. Someone calls your choice selfish, and instead of explaining again, you let them think what they think. It still stings. Being misread by someone who used to see you clearly is its own kind of loss. But you've noticed something. Some people will only accept you as long as you stay exactly recognizable to them. And if getting honest makes you harder to recognize, they might call that distance. They might call it pride. Sometimes it's neither. Sometimes it's just growth, and growth doesn't always come with a translation. If 2 or 3 of those hit close, don't rush past this next part. It's the one that actually matters. Go back to the test from earlier. Ask yourself honestly, when you picture your version of alone, does it come from clarity or from fear? Here's a simple way to check. Think about the last stretch of time you spent completely by yourself. When it ended, when someone finally texted, or you finally had to leave the house, how did you feel toward them? If you felt steadier, a little more like yourself, and genuinely glad to see them even though you weren't looking for company, that's the healthy kind. You just needed quiet to hear your own thoughts again. If instead you felt a flicker of dread, like the message was an intrusion, that's worth paying attention to. That's not preference anymore. That might be protection that's calcified into isolation. Not every distance is wisdom. Sometimes it's an old wound that never learned how to soften. The two can wear the exact same clothes, and only you, from the inside, can tell which one you're actually wearing. To be clear about what I'm not saying, I'm not telling you to cut people off. I'm not telling you that needing space makes you better than people who don't. And I'm definitely not telling you to romanticize isolation, because there's a version of walking alone that isn't strength. It's just fear wearing a nicer word. The difference is simple, even if it's not always easy to admit. Healthy alone makes your life bigger. It clears your head so you can come back and actually be present with people, instead of sitting there while every part of you is already left. Fearful alone makes your life smaller. It convinces you that every door is safer left closed, until eventually there's no door left you're willing to open. One of those is a natural rhythm. The other is a defense mechanism that forgot it was ever supposed to be temporary. You're not the wrong kind of phone. But if the second charger stays unplugged even when the battery's already full, that's not charging anymore. That's just being off. And here's the honest part. You can't tell which one you're living by one feeling alone once. You have to watch the pattern over months, not moments. A rough week where you cancel plans isn't a verdict on who you are. But if I need space has quietly become I don't let anyone close enough to ask for it, that's worth noticing before it hardens into a habit you didn't choose on purpose. If that's you, you don't need to fix it by Friday. Just do one small thing. Pick the one person you trusted before things got quiet and send them something real, not "Hey, how are you?" but an actual sentence about what's been going on. You're not signing up to be different overnight. You're just checking if the connection is still there. That's the whole test. Maybe you were never meant to be carried by the group. Maybe some parts of your life were always going to need your own 2 feet under you, and no amount of the right friends or the right plans was ever going to change that. That's not a life sentence to loneliness. It's just a different shape of belonging. Showing up fully instead of showing up often. A handful of real connections instead of a long list of familiar ones. The quiet stops being something you recover from other people and becomes something you build a life around. You can still be close to people without letting closeness swallow your choices. Send this to someone who keeps getting called distant when they are really just trying to understand their own life. Thank you for watching until this moment. I'm Can. Subscribe for more videos about the psychology behind behaviors most people misunderstand. Goodbye and see you next time.